I done been through it all, man. Wars in my head, thinking that I'm better dead. I get panic attacks every time I'm asleep. I've been waking up screaming and covered in sweat. Anxiety's killing me, made me depressed. But it's one thing I look at as something to test me, to see if I wanted to see how I'll get it. So I'm never sweating the days I don't rest, which is every night I've been working. Every night I've been...
What's going on, everybody? Welcome tonight to Full Spectrum Veteran. It is Slim in the house along with me, Jeff. And tonight we're just going to be going off the cuff, talking about whatever. But I know we're going to start with what Slim has there. So what do you got there, Slim? What are you lighting up tonight?
Tonight I'm going with a little Indica Mandarin Dream from True Leaf. One of my favorite late night strains. Got a great taste, great flavor. Doesn't knock you out, indica, but it certainly helps you transition into getting ready for bed.
Nice. My indica of choice when I'm looking for something similar to that is my papaya cake.
Great strain.
I use a wax, and that one definitely lets me know it's time to go lay down. I like that one.
Why do you prefer the wax?
Huh?
Why do you prefer that and the wax?
I like the wax just because I like the stronger concentrate over flower, especially in the evening. Like, I feel like it just kind of goes down a little bit smoother late into the evening.
Sure.
But yeah, I like the wax is good. I like how it just gives me that good hit a lot better than flower does at night.
Yeah.
So I'm more into the concentrates lately as it is. Use the vaporizer lately if I'm gonna do flower, because I don't know. It's been getting a little harsh on my lungs, I guess, and I'm not too sure why. I've tried a few different things, but I think I've just gotten so used to the vaping.
My lungs are salty.
Yeah.
Seasoned veteran lungs.
I know, right? Yeah, no, I just have some days where it was too much coughing or something like that, and I'm just like not looking forward to flower smoking that evening, you know?
So obviously a lot of our viewers and people are going to watch this stuff, that a lot of them are new to the cannabis. A lot of them are veterans, non-veterans that are kind of just learning this whole game, just transitioning to the aspect that you don't just go buy a bag of weed, roll it up and smoke it, that they all
Right.
have different effects. They all have different um, everything. There's so much that you need to educate yourself on. So somebody like yourself, give us a daily rundown of what you use, how you use it, and when you use it, and I'll give you a little bit of mine after yours, just so people can get an idea as to what makes you effective, what helps you relax, and so on.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Because yeah, like you said, there's a lot more to it now. There's everything you compare off strains and what you need to do that day or what part of the day you want to accomplish it. So for me,
Science.
yeah, right. I have one of those concentrate pens where there's the heating core in the middle, and so I start my day with a sativa of White Buffalo.
Boom.
And I like that in shatter form because again I like concentrates. So my White Buffalo, for example, is 74.69% THC. So nice,
Also
good
a great Ted Nugent song.
Yeah. It's I don't know, it's just a really good one that I like to use to start my day. And then so once I take a good dose of that in the morning, I don't really need anything for a while. But then later, and I just got a new cartridge today that I'm trying out, but this one's White Fire OG or Wi-Fi, which I've read about quite a bit, but I hadn't had the opportunity to get it yet. So this evening I took it for the first time. I like it so far. I bought it mainly because...
Is it a hybrid?
Yeah, so the Wi-Fi is hybrid. I like it mainly because when I was on Leafly checking out the stats for it, Most of it was, happy, euphoric, creative, along that category, which is good for me. But then under the treating category, it was there for depression, anxiety, calming, things like that. Um, so far it's good. I'm picky about what I want to take during the show though too. Like I don't think like with you on the Mandarin, I don't know if I'd want an indica during the show just because I know generally they make me super tired. So I personally wouldn't gamble an indica but that's where strains are so different, and that's where you just know your body and um, how you're gonna take it and what that strain's gonna do to you. Because I mean, I've taken sativas before that made me tired,
Yeah. My
So
problem is I begin the day in fifth gear.
mm,
Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
So to like I could literally get away with indicas in the morning and it would just bring me down and cut my edge, where where I would probably be somewhat normal to the rest of the world,
right.
So but it's again, like you said, it affects everybody differently. So for you, you're a sativa in the morning, and then hybrid, when do you usually bring that in the day?
Um, so lately, even with the white buffalo, I've found myself like into microdosing. So with microdosing, I'm basically taking a little bit constantly throughout the day. If you were to break it down milligram wise, if you're going off milligrams of THC, and I just constantly have a little throughout the day and keep myself at a nice level throughout the day instead of finding a time for a break every couple hours or something like that, where I'd be getting the same amount just in different spurts. You know what I mean? So for that, I'll still sometimes use the white buffalo, but then I also had in this style of the vape cartridge, those True Sticks. Um, I had the green crack and Girl Scout cookie that I was using. So the green crack it played on my anxiety a little bit, so it kind of made me more jittery if I would just take that alone.
And
But
that's
if
a
I would,
sativa.
right, green crack is the sativa, and then if I would take the Girl Scout cookie, which is a hybrid, I felt that it would mellow it down a lot. I could bring the sativa down to a good level, but I could keep a lot of the energy from the green crack, and then keep the happiness, euphoria, stuff, the calming and everything like that of the Girl Scout cookie. That works pretty good too.
So how are
Um,
you mixing the strains when you do it?
I just switched the cartridge out
So you're hitting a hit from one cartridge,
and then
switching it
right
out with
into
the
the other.
really.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's very cool. I've never even thought about that. Like for me, I'm a flower person. I would just buy, the buds or the minis, and I would just grind them together and
Right.
and
Yeah.
and try it.
Same concept. So like
Yeah.
if I have both of them, like this right now is the new one, the Wi-Fi, but if this was my Girl Scout cookie one, because this is my green crack one, I would just put this one in, and depending on how many hits I want to take, like normally I'll take like four little hits throughout the day, like
Yeah.
at a time, you know. So I'll do like two and two. I'll do two green crack and two Girl Scout cookie, swap them out, and it was a perfect level. They were the two ones that I randomly bought together the first time I was trying them from the dispensary, and they ended up being perfect together. So I used those. They were a gram each. The cartridges were a gram each, and they lasted me I want to say a good month that I got out of them easily. Maybe a little
So
bit, maybe even more.
so what's your go-to pre-bedtime strain, indica? What do you like to do before you go to bed? What chills you? What brings you down? I know you have kids, so I know that gets crazy throughout the day. At some point, you need to cut the edge and get ready to pass out at night. What do you roll with?
So at night it depends also what I have to do or what I want to do. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
there's different ways to be able to use it that I can put myself out if I need to put myself out. Like I said before when you mentioned yours, I like the papaya cake, which is in a wax form. If this even works, I don't know.
Oh yeah,
But
you can see.
it's in a wax form, and I can use the same thing in the concentrate pen. And this one does a good job. It doesn't like knock me out, but it makes me feel like I want to go lay down. And then I'll usually put the TV on and or play on my phone. Like I could be on my phone still for an hour after taking it, but it made me go relax, and that's important because I don't sometimes know when to just call it a night and go lay down. You
Right on.
know, I'll end up surfing the web for 6 hours and call it in the name of the podcast or something like that when
Yeah.
I didn't really have any reason to have to sit around and gather sources until 3 o'clock in the morning. You know what I mean? That was just my insomnia taking over, and I didn't let the medicine take over basically that night. But if I need to go out, that's when edibles start coming into play, and that requires pre-planning. So that's why I was saying it depends what I'm doing or what I need to do. Because if I can pre-plan,
You're very
um,
tactical with your cannabis use.
I am, man. I mean, I got into it in the age of all this shit, so I'm trying to take the best advantage of it that I can. You know what I mean? I
True.
feel like I feel like the earlier I adopt the ways of doing it, the easier it becomes to maintain it. You know what I mean? Instead
Sure.
of getting comfortable, like I don't want to be the guy that goes to the dispensary every 3 weeks and gets the same exact strain and comes home. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Because there's so much more, and that guy's probably missing out on a lot of shit. Like, he probably still has, I don't know, whatever he's in there, a hypothetical situation, but there's probably still pain, and there's probably still things that could maybe work better with a different strain, for example, or
Or just a
adding that
tiny bit of
strain.
education. That's all he
Yeah,
needs.
yeah,
Just a tiny
exactly.
bit.
There was none, and I feel like I've learned a lot of shit in a short amount of time, and I'm just trying to take advantage of it because there's too much out there now to not take advantage of it. Like, in my opinion, even though you can go anywhere and get it and it ain't hard, but I'm enjoying going to the dispensary and like having these different things available because this is what the future of it's going to look like anyway. You know,
True.
this the way they're doing it now is not just going to disappear once it's even recreational everywhere. You know what I mean? All these products are still going to exist. So it makes more sense to learn it now and be comfortable with it now instead of try to figure it out in another 4 or 5 years. You know?
It's $1 billion industry. It's just scratched the surface. Just begun.
Yeah, it's still interesting to me. I think I mentioned it on the last show, but it's just interesting to me that I feel like I'm getting into this so late in the overall world of cannabis, but like it's still so early, everything's still new. The world of recreational and even medicinal and everything is still, in its infancy. So,
You couldn't have
um,
picked a better time. This is the cannabis renaissance.
yeah, yep,
It is. It truly is. This is its time. It's finally getting its due. It's finally getting the legalities corrected. It's finally
right,
getting the research. It's finally getting the petitions, the strength, the validity. All of it is finally, we're and all we're really doing is proving something that ancient generations have already known for hundreds of years. But that's not here or there. We now know what direction we're going in, and you're
yep.
right. It is not it's not slowing down one bit.
No, and I like to take advantage of it. A couple of years ago, it was still I got what I got situation. You know what I mean? And then
Absolutely.
because I didn't get my own card for a while.
And,
Uh,
and and let's face it. I mean, it helped a little bit. Whatever you ended up getting or
Oh
buying
yeah, I
on the
mean,
street, you felt good to an extent, but until you can truly find the different strains and educate yourself on the different ways of bioavailability of cannabis and what works best for you and the
yep.
the pros and cons, that's what it comes down to. Like we said, now it seems complicated, like there's a lot of science behind it, but it really isn't. You just kind of gotta know the basics and take those basics and try sample from there. That's it. It's not that difficult
Yeah, and you
or
know,
frightening.
like we've mentioned before with Leafly, like we have those resources available where at any time, assuming you know what strain you're going to get, it you can look it up and get a good report from reviewers across the country. You know, like it's not four people at Leafly deciding this. Those percentages come off of the hundreds or even sometimes thousands of people that have reviewed that particular strain. So, you know, it's you're basically getting consumer reviews of a strain, and based off their reported feelings is how it ends up getting cataloged. So it's definitely a good starting point, and there's been a lot of situations where a lot of them are dead on. You know what I mean? Or you'll go through and actually read the reviews, and someone will tell a story that's like identical to your story, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna give it a shot. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
and maybe it won't work, and you know we've talked about that where it's not cheap to do the experimenting point. You know what I mean? You could buy 15 hybrids before you finally find the one that like really does it for you. You know what I mean? But then like I was saying, like mixing, like you can build your own. You know, get your own. Get an indica that you know you like, and get a sativa that you know you like, and see what kind of hybrid that makes for you. You know, do the 1 and 1 or 2 and 2.
A lot of these dispensaries as well will have a really good description on their website of each
Hmm.
strain as well. It'll tell you what it does. And if you want to get a little further into that, when you go to your dispensary, speak to your bud tenders. They know what they're talking about. They have to educate themselves on the product and talk to them about it. Ask them, hey, I have pain, I have bad nightmares, whatever it may be. What do you suggest? What do you recommend for the morning? What do you suggest for the afternoon? Don't be afraid to ask questions. That's what they're there for. And and hopefully we can answer some of those as well as we go with different shows and different guests and
Yep.
different research that we present as well. But we want everybody to not be afraid to do the research and ask the questions because it does work.
Yep. Yeah, and it's definitely important just to hear some people talk about like us. Like, there's a lot of trial and error, and um, I guess I don't mind making mistakes or learning what works and what probably doesn't for the betterment of the group. You know what I mean? Like, I don't mind doing the experimenting. It's not.
Yeah, I'll
I
be a guinea
promise.
pig anytime.
I promise you're not hurting my feelings by
Yeah.
me trying all these different strains out. But um, I love the exploration of it, man. I try to take advantage of it. I try to keep that log. Sometimes I don't. Um, sometimes I don't even. I should probably take a better log sometimes, but I give up on a strain once I decide I don't like it. And
Sure.
then so I don't really log what I don't like about it. I just log that I don't like it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then I just kind of keep that memory bank of, like, I don't like, which one was it? LA Confidential.
Yeah, I'm not a
Be-
big fan of that one either.
because of the lavender in the terpenes in LA Confidential, and I hate lavender. I hate the smell of it. So from the second I cranked it open and the lavender smell hit me, I was like, oh, I'm gonna hate this. I already knew I was gonna hate it. You know, especially if you get a real terpene rich um, strain like that where you can really smell and taste, you know, the terpenes in it. And
I just didn't really get super high off of it. I just thought it was a
I didn't
real
either.
basic high.
It
You
made me
know,
choke. It made me cough uncontrollably.
really.
And this was the flower form, so
Yeah.
it wasn't already ground or it wasn't in any concentrate or anything like this. It was just basic flower, but um, yeah, it was making me cough uncontrollably, and I couldn't deal with it. I ended up giving it to my mom, who has a card too, and let them deal with it.
Sure.
I didn't want to toss it, but I wouldn't have used it for anything. And in that situation, I don't remember why I got it, um, but I didn't look it up. You know what I mean? So sometimes I'll go if I want to try something. The cheapest way I've found to do it is like if you're going to a dispensary, is to just get a pre-roll
True.
because they're usually a
Sometimes it's hard to judge it by the pre-roll because a lot of these dispensaries will roll their pre-rolls are made up with the shake that's left on the floor
yeah, that
after
is
the,
true.
so you're basically getting a lot of the pre-rolls are just buff, which
Hmm.
is just what it is. Not to take it away from the pre-rolls because it's still good herb, but it's not the filet mignon, it's not that
Yeah,
that nice bud, that nugget.
yeah. Usually the only times I get the pre-rolls is for some reason there's a couple with the dispensary that I go through because I go through like you use True Leaf up where you're at,
I
and
do.
I prefer them also. They just have more of the strains that I like, and me being in the Orlando area, I have four True Leaf dispensaries here, so even if I and they're all within for where I'm at because I'm outside Orlando anyway. They're like all within 10 or 15 minutes of each other, so that no one is really more out of the way than another. Um,
Me
so if,
being in the Panhandle, that's where True Leaf's headquarters are.
mm-hmm,
So they reign supreme pretty much through the Panhandle, and their headquarters is in Quincy, I believe, just outside of Tallahassee. So
yeah,
we
we
use
have,
we like our True Leaf.
yeah, that's what I use mostly here. Um, and then, where else have I been?
They rule the flower game.
Cure Leaf I've been into a few times as well.
I like the
Um,
Cure Leaf that you have down there in Orlando. It was a real classy, chic place,
mm-hmm,
very
yeah, it is nice
comfortable.
inside.
It was just easy. Like, a lot of the dispensaries that the first original dispensaries were like, like you had to get through the gate, get to the other side, then you were in, a lot of them like the one Curaleaf I went down there was just it was open. They were like, "Hey man, how are you? Come right in, sit down."
That's how
You
the
know,
early, that's how Certera was around here too.
it still
Also,
is here.
yeah,
Same
it
here.
it kind of when you go into them, they're like begging for a lounge, for a consumption lounge, and some of those, I feel like they've kind of already set themselves up for it. And like the one True Leaf that I like to go to, um, I go to the one in the Millennia area, and there's a really big open lobby that like they could totally knock down a wall or two and make a big lounge
Yeah.
later. If you were able to consume on the property, like if they change it and you can consume there. There's tons of room at least at that one for a good lounge. You know what I mean?
I like that
I think it'd be a
open.
good
I,
idea.
I like that open air where, like I don't know. It's classier for me.
Mm-hmm.
It takes away from like you don't like they don't do that in liquor stores. Why should they do it in a dispensary?
Mm-hmm.
Like you walk into a dispensary in Vegas or California, it's not like that. Yes, I understand it's medical, but it's let's take down the stigma walls and let's just be real with it. Like if somebody's gonna rob you, somebody's gonna rob you behind those doors too. Like,
Yeah,
you're not. I don't know what the purpose of it is anymore, but it's I just prefer that classier open air where you can look at the product in the glass and
it's
like
on the
a
shelves and stuff like that.
yeah
Yeah.
like a true dispensary should be run. I mean, And I think we're going to that direction mostly. And I understand why they do what they do, especially in Florida, because it is only medical.
Hmm.
But yeah. So you finish your day with a papaya cake or an indica. Um, Anything else you want to throw in that you might do during the day? It was maybe a weekend day that you might
Oh,
want to.
well, for sure. I didn't mention it before. Pairing CBD throughout the day as well. So
True.
right now, um, I take, what do I take? A milliliter in the morning. So 50 milligrams with the type of CBD that I use. So 50 milligrams in the morning, another 50 in the evening. Um, I have your beard balm that I use during the day, or a beard oil, I mean, that I use during the day, once or twice, depending. Sometimes just in the morning, and then if I'm going out in the evening, then I'll throw some on again sometimes.
Yeah,
Um,
it can get dry in the Florida sun.
oh yeah, definitely. And then what else? That's pretty much my CBD regimen that I do every day, and because like there was definitely a couple years ago, I don't know, man. I didn't like how CBD was released. It made me lose the faith in it. You know what I mean? For a while. So I kind of had to. I waited for a while until other people did the research for me. I think
Sure.
basically, and and then like well people like you in the CBD industry and everything as well. Um, I don't know. I just didn't have faith in it for a while just because of how it came to market. Like it just got thrown into liquor shops and tobacco shops and stuff like that. And I
There
feel
were
like,
there were those multi-level marketing
yeah, yeah, yeah.
companies that were starting to sell CBD, and it immediately gave it that shady factor.
Well, it's because you had a whole bunch of uneducated people trying to sell a product, and it was like reintroducing the hemp industry back to America again with like the least educated people I've ever met on the subject. And I think that's
Trying to exploit the aspect that it's
it's
cannabis,
a magical
but you're not
cure.
going to
And
get hurt, high or hurt.
I just did so that was my issue with CBD. Like I had my reluctancies for a while, but now that because it's a medicine like everything else, so if you have to take a pill every day to feel better, it's no different than, CBD or however you take your THC or whatever. You're still gonna, to some extent, depending on your goal for the day. If your goal is to just get
It's
high all day,
just
then
safer. It's safer and it's all natural,
mm,
and in a better way to handle a lot of issues that people may be now treating with synthetic drugs or opioids or
yeah,
whatever it may be.
yeah, yeah, and but you kind of want to get on a schedule and keep it in your body around similar times, which um,
A reg
I had to get better about that, and then that's why for me, um, like microdosing throughout the day, just kind of, excuse me, um, just kind of staying on it through the day and finding a good level, like a good operating level that I can be at during the day. Like now obviously I'm in a little bit of a different state, because it's nighttime, but like I'm not like high, you know what I mean, during the day, but I'm just in a good mental state. I'm in what is a pretty decent physical state. If I don't have CBD, like I'm bad. I forget stuff a lot, and so I try to keep my CBD bottle somewhere where I'll like remember. Like it'll force me to remember. I'm just real bad.
Yeah.
Because if I keep it in the medicine cabinet, which is where I have generally taken it and put it in there, there are days that I'll forget about it, and a day or two later, I can definitely tell a difference. Because for me, CBD helps not so much with like any mental stuff like anxiety or any PTSD symptoms. Really, like I don't think it does much for that. Maybe calms me a little bit throughout the day, but it definitely helps with pain because I've been having a lot of like sciatica nerve issues, and it wraps around my hip and then goes over the front of my knee, and I've been having a lot of issues like that, and I already have that's my right knee, and I already have a real bad knee to the point where it has to be replaced. And being younger, younger like I am, uh, I don't know if I want to replace my knee at 36, you know.
Right. Yeah.
And the first time I was told I needed to have my knee replaced, I think I was like 29, and then again at 33, um, and then now at 36. So uh,
The technology's only getting better.
no, I know, but like because that was the kind of the thing at first they were like, oh well, most doctors were like, well, we still don't know where you're going to be in 20 years. Like, we don't know where medicine's going to be in 20 years, and you're going to outlive your joint potentially twice. You know what I mean? Because right now, the knee was like a 20-year um, life cycle, and so me being in my 30s, like, I could have gone through two life cycles potentially of knees.
Sure.
And then so finally, I got with another doctor, um, orthopedic surgeon at the University of Florida, and his opinion, well, one of his opinions was we don't even know where medicine's going to be in 20 years. For all we know, they could put in some new stellar thing and it'll outlive me or whatever. Um,
Nanobots.
but for now, I'm just trying to ride it out. But so between my knee, always giving me a lot of issues anyway, and then with the nerve issues lately, um, it's been it's been hard. And then so the CBD, it's really been helping with that like a lot. And if I forget to take it for a day and it's out of my system for a day or two, I definitely notice it.
Yeah.
Like
Truth.
you would with most medications, in my opinion. Anyway, if you forgot to take your meds and you've been off them for 2 days, right about the 2 day mark is when your body's gonna start kind of shutting down a little bit. So
Absolutely.
not saying my body's shutting down, but I can definitely tell effects wearing off at that point if it's been a couple days. So I don't go a couple days without smoking because I usually always have it around me, but for some reason I forget my CBD, so I try to get better about having a system for everything now, and that's helped a lot.
Yeah. 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 You've got to.
So what about you then? So what are you using right now? Like you being at the dealership all day, because you're kind of in the opposite situation as me. I'm home all day. I can do whatever the hell I want all day long, smoke whatever I want from any device that I want, and eat as many edibles if I want. I mean, I'm not going to do that because I'm a stay-at-home dad and I'm dealing with kids in virtual school,
Right on.
you know.
Yeah. Right on.
But so that's why I just found myself a good level that I can stay at all day and still be 100% functional if needed. But I'm at that good level where, like, if I get a chance to sit down, I'm gonna sit down, you know.
Yeah.
But for
So
you, being so busy, your day is gonna look a lot different than mine, but common for a lot of people in your situation. So, let's talk about your day a little bit.
I'm one of those people, like I said earlier, that I wake up in fifth gear. Like I'm annoying right out the gate. I'm wide awake. I add nitrous for coffee, and for me, I've been a long time smoker, and this is something that some people are going to run into after years of using cannabis and medicating, and a good reason why we talk about switching up the bioavailability styles as well as the strains is your body begins to get used to it. I smoke a lot because I predominantly smoke flower, but my body takes in a lot more than most other people because I use it for so many things.
Right.
I'm going to be 53. I'm a left leg above the knee amputee. So that brings in a lot of factors. I get phantom pains, I get lower back, hip pains, knee pains, um, all types of things. So, um, dealing with my own demons as well, like other people do. So I have so many derivatives of what I use, and I am wide open all the time, and I do have two businesses, and I also work full time at a Harley dealership, for my buddy's dealership, helping him with inventory and wholesale and all that. So I usually wake up in the morning and I go right out the gate with a couple joints of a white buffalo or any really strong sativa, because it mixes well with my coffee as well, because that's what somebody in fifth gear needs is four
Hmm.
more gears, you know.
Yep.
Um, I'm like an 18 wheeler. I've got 12 gears to go through the day. Then I get to work. I'm usually pretty good till around lunchtime. I'll eat around lunch, and then after that, I'll usually carry one of two different pens that I like. My absolute favorite is the rosin cart. These carts can carry any cart in it. I'm sorry, these batteries can carry any kind of cart in it, but I prefer my favorite's the Blue River rosin from True Leaf, which is rosin is very similar to a hash oil almost. It's really refined. It's great taste, great high. So if I have one of these going, I'll usually utilize this up throughout the course of the day, microdose it somewhere around 1 o'clock till I get home. A lot of times you hit traffic on the way home. These are excellent to have. Or like Jeff, I have a True Stick and True Pod. These are all magnetic. They all click just by magnets right in. This is great as well because it does have a lot of different strains and two different strengths as well. This is an 800 milligram, 1 gram vape cart.
And they're strong too. Their
They are,
THC concentrates are real strong compared to your average vape cart anyway.
and great for the rosin cart, not so much for the smell, but the vape cart, the True Pod cart is excellent in public, wherever you want to go and smoke it, just like any other vape cart. It will have some strong terpene scents and things like that, but it's no different than anybody else's regular vape carts. The rosin carts strong cannabis scent to it as well, like a flower, because it is the closest concentrate I think to a flower.
Hmm. Yep.
Um, so throughout, that's I'm still going probably till 6, 7 o'clock with business. The business is I also own a CBD business, so that's a big regimen for me during the day as well. I usually in the morning will take either a 500 or a 1500 full spectrum product, which we carry oil. And depending on the 500 is usually more of the regiment. The 1500 is if I'm feeling more aches and pains. Um, it also focuses me a lot. I've noticed I focus better on when I stay on the oil regimen. I take usually a full dropper in the morning and a full dropper before bedtime, about an hour before bed. And we carry these gummies that are awesome. They're 30 milligrams each, which are super strong. They're broad spectrum, and which means that is the whole plant, all the CBDs minus the THC. Full spectrum is the whole plant with a small percentage of THC, which creates the entourage effect, which
Right.
we'll talk about later in one of our other shows. Um, so that is my regimen. The gummy I like to take couple hours before bed. It gives me some of the best sleep I've ever had. I used to be a 3 to 4 hour a night sleeper, and now I'm a solid 6 to 8 hours. Still wake up the same time, early 5:30, 6 in the morning, but I wake up refreshed rather than
Right.
not not fully revived.
Hmm.
Um, so That's the gummy is excellent. The CBD is definitely a huge part. A lot of people think, well, if I'm smoking marijuana or smoking cannabis, isn't that giving me the whole full spectrum of everything
Right.
I need?
I
Yeah,
was in the
it is.
same boat with that for
It
a
does
while
give you
anyway.
it. Yeah, I mean, you are going to get, but are you
But it
getting?
still is not scientifically. It's not the same thing. CBD
You're
is a
right.
completely different thing than THC. And CBN and THCA and everything has a different part in the
Exactly.
endocannabinoid system on where it works and how it works. Anyway, so yeah, it's good that you brought that up because I think a lot of people are in that same boat where if I'm already smoking or I'm already taking in THC, then what exactly do I need CBD for? Why am I taking in a non-euphoric version, or at least that's the thought process behind it. It's
Yeah.
it's it doesn't get you high, but it does the same thing, and that's not necessarily true. You know what I mean? So
Yep.
it's important, to bring stuff up like that because um,
The
like I've been
combination of
talking,
both is phenomenal for your endocannabinoid system.
and basically, there's no reason not to use this at your disposal as a care plan situation anyway. You know what I mean? Um, if you're already indulging and you're already taking part, then get some more of that research so you can find more proper ways to use it because there's more proper ways to use it depending on what your end goal is. You know what I mean? If you just know a nice concentrated dab will fuck you up and that's what you want, then that's cool. You know what I mean? But for people that understand that different things throughout the day can be treated different ways. You know what I mean? That's why I'm talking like for me where I've been doing all the research about what different products do and all the different strains and how they react. I don't know, I've gone through 50 strains the last year or so,
Sure.
just to see what they do, And some I've found like, yeah, I definitely like it. Like I know I've said it a lot, but White Buffalo was my most recent find that I've just been in love with, and there haven't
Great
been too
strain.
many. Yeah, there haven't been many where especially a couple years in now. You know what I mean? So there
I'm
hasn't.
partial to any strain that starts with white.
Yeah, they. I
It's
mean, for
it
me,
just
they've
tastes
all.
great.
For me, they've all been good, and I don't know if that's some coincidence or what. I haven't actually looked on a few of them to see if they come from similar strains, but I don't think White Buffalo and White Fire have anything to do with each other. So I don't know the reasoning for the names, and that could be a coincidence. But yeah,
I
there's a
believe the
few.
white is because of the bright light colored trichomes on the flowers.
Yeah,
I may be wrong. I mean, I'm sure if I am, we'll
will
get
be
some
corrected.
true stoner will help me out and correct that.
Well, we're gonna. There'll be plenty of things that were corrected. I don't have any fact checker in front of me right now.
And
We're just what we know, and I'm not saying we're gonna be spitting a bunch of bogus stuff. I'm just saying,
we'll do our best.
yeah, that's a good way to put it. We'll do our best, definitely. But
Well, like you were saying also is there may be a lot of you guys out there that don't want to use cannabis, but you do have pain and issues that you're wondering that maybe just CBD will work. It
hmm
does. And it's, and that's also we'll do a show completely on CBD because we want to educate people on that. We want to explain why I got into it, why I started a business in the direction and why we did what we did. There's so much to it, but
it's
there
a
are a
game
lot of
changer.
people.
It's a game
Yeah,
changer for people that can't have THC in their system for sure.
yeah, absolutely. Oh, who want to get away from synthetic drugs,
hmm
synthetic pain pills, opioids, all of that. It does work, and it can replace it with the proper regimen. You know, so and back to real quick. Just wanted to finish up. So at the end of my day, after business is set aside and all put away, I usually, like you saw earlier, I usually go with an indica, a heavy indica,
hmm
because I'll smoke two, three, sometimes even four joints before bed, and I'll take a gummy as well. And just because it takes that much to bring me down to the level of chill mode, you know.
Yep.
But that's, there are a lot of people that are like me out there. There are a lot of people that on the complete opposite. So at least they can understand everything that works for you and
Mm-hmm.
everything that works for me, and kind of factor in between who they are, and experiment from there. And of course, we'll definitely uh, do a lot more product and strain and forms of reviews and things as we go too.
So that's not a bad idea because what I want to do right now, um, if I can find it, I got that. I got some Blue Dream crumble today.
Ooh.
So I wanted to pull up Blue Dream because it's a good hybrid. So that'll be good actually because since I just went to the store today, um, talk about a thing or two real quick. I'm not trying to
It
plug
just
any
sounds
particular.
like it works, like
I'm not
Blue
trying to
Dream.
like plug any particular dispensary. It just happens to be that we go to True Leaf because the strains we like are carried there the most. So
Well,
I'm gonna
and
talk.
for two
I'm gonna
different
talk about.
reasons.
Huh?
You And for two different reasons. Like you like the diversity of the strains and the forms.
Right.
The bioavailability forms. I love flower, and True Leaf truly rules the roost when it comes to flower. If you compare in Florida all the medical dispensaries, True Leaf makes up about 50% of the flower sales. So their
Mm-hmm.
strains are very diverse, and that's the two reasons why we lean towards it.
The other thing that's good to take note of that I sometimes forget to do, so I'll bring it up now, is when you do find a strain that you like, make note of the form that it comes in, because you might find out, especially if you are a dispensary goer, that it might only come in a cart form, and you might not see it in flower form, or it might come in a concentrate form, and you don't see it any other way.
Good point.
So it's important to bring that up because there's a couple strains that I've found that then I find they're a pain in the ass to get because once that cart's not available for a while, you never see it anywhere else. You know what I mean? Like I was for a while early in my um, like medical. Uh, how would I put it?
Journey.
Yeah, well, just yeah, definitely early in my journey. But when I was using
Pilgrimage.
when I was using like these normal pens, which I still hit occasionally, I haven't bought one in so long that I don't really care. I don't use it as much anymore. But
I like to call them boot camp pens.
boot camp pens, that's a good way to put it. When I was in basic training, um, yeah, when I was in basic training in the medical marijuana world, yeah, no, that's a good way to put it. But anyway, one of the first ones that I got was a Girl Scout cookie, and it was like it was perfect. It hit the spot. My anxiety was gone. I never liked to say that I had depression, but my depression was gone. You know, whatever that feeling was, because I think a lot of people don't know that they're depressed because they don't know what it really actually feels like to be depressed or what you're feeling is actually depression versus something else. Um, and but whatever it was, you know, I definitely felt it going away.
Comes in
Um,
many forms. There's many forms of depression.
yeah, true. Um, and my biggest test actually at the time, because I have crowd anxiety real bad, um, what's the word? I'm always like hyper vigilant everywhere I go, which is obnoxious. You know, always needing.
I don't know one combat veteran who isn't both of those, brother. Trust me.
Oh no, I
And
know it,
you
but
guys are like, I hate crowd, and I get it. You know what I mean? I can't sympathize enough.
yeah, it's hard to get past the fact that any feeling like anybody in the crowd could explode at any time. It's a feeling that I don't think is ever going to go away because I think stupid like that. Like I'll be sitting there, I'm like, why wouldn't they? There's 1,000 people standing here. You know what I
Hey,
mean? Like you can't help but think
there's
horribly. Like
nothing wrong with staying sharp.
yeah, like I just don't have a lot of joy or I didn't for a while anyway, have a lot of joy in wanting to do anything. Because for me, I'm like, man, this just seems like there's too many people here. It's too advantageous, and I don't want to be here. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you're looking around, you're like, there's 30,000 people at this ball game. Why wouldn't they drop a bomb here right now? You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it's too advantageous, and you just need to. I feel the need to have to leave. You know what I mean? Like leave before somebody else discovers how. You know what I mean? Like I, it's just it's weird. But I know a lot of other people feel the same way. But
Sure.
um, the
And I'm
Girl
sure
Scout
you're speaking to
cookie.
some right now.
Yeah, I hope so. You know, that's why we were doing this. That's why we want to do this. But the Girl Scout cookie, I had it with me, and then I went to
Another great strain.
Disney. I went to Disney with it, and it was the first time that I had been high in public. Since when I started trying out the
What a great
cartridges and
place to
stuff
be
like that.
high for the first
It,
time.
it I'm 20 minutes away. Again, if I have things at my disposal, I'm gonna use them. And I've
Sure.
used Disney because we have passes, so we can go whenever. Um,
You drank the shit out of the butterbeer, didn't you?
yeah. No, well, I haven't been to we don't go to Universal. Um, I actually haven't been to any of the Harry Potter stuff over at Universal yet. But at Disney, I've gone there probably on 10, 15 different strains just to see how I react there and see how I feel. Like it's just like it's my they're probably going to hate hearing this if it ever gets back to them, but they're like my training facility almost. You know what I mean? Like if you're building a new car, you take it to a track to give it a run. And for me, like I'm on a new strain, so we'll go to Disney today, and I'll see how it makes me feel when I'm at the park. You know, I feel like it's
If you can make it all the way through It's a Small World and still smile, that's strange shit.
yep. But I don't know. I felt like that was the best way I could go about it. Why not just throw myself into the social crowd anxiety pool and see if I can swim out of it? You know, so
Sure.
um, and there's been a couple like and then that type of stuff is what goes into your journal. That's the stuff if assuming and like when I'm doing stuff like that, I don't get like blasted and then go to Disney. You know what I mean? I definitely remain in a good functional state.
Can you
Um,
can you imagine the breakthroughs and the advancements that they would make at the VA if they utilized cannabis in their group in one-on-one sessions, like amongst the guys dealing with the PTSD, the guys dealing with the crowd anxieties, all that
yep,
stuff. There's a lot of people that have gone to those groups who have had the one-on-ones, who have to have the one-on-ones weekly,
yep.
monthly, bi-monthly, right? So like, could you imagine the groundbreaking work you could do if you were allowed to be able to utilize cannabis in all its forms, to maybe cut the edge off of the feelings and be able to talk about them, or cut the edge off of what triggers it, and all of that. I mean, it's just nobody's going to talk me out of that not being one of
No,
the most progressive moves for it, because it works and the research proves it. So why wouldn't it? You know what I mean?
right.
It's good times. I don't want to sound negative because we're heading that route. You know what I mean? It's upset because we wish it, like when people reach the level of enlightenment that they do, and I know that sounds kind of dramatic, but when they do reach that form of enlightenment where they realize that cannabis is beneficial to them in mind, body, and soul, then it's you get upset because you're like, why did it take so long? Why is it still taking so long
Yep.
for the legalities, for the funding, for people to be released from prison? Why is all of this taking so long? Everything's it's still taking too long. And in the scheme of things, you look at it in your own world and you're like, wow, why didn't I see this all along?
Right. Yeah.
And I don't want, I'm not trying to preach to people, like, not everybody's going to see it, not everybody's going to feel it like we do. Um, but there are people who will, and they'll get it, and they'll understand, and they'll see the politics behind it. They'll see all of that, good and evil behind it, and
Right.
that's a lot of what I think we want to touch on here, and help educate on as well too.
Yeah, definitely. And my flaw is staying on top of politics. So when it comes to a lot of the politics stuff, I don't know where a lot of people stand on it. Just because that that part of things I tried to keep out, I just try to keep it out if I can keep it out. And so I'm real behind on a lot of like I know the MORE Act, is sponsored by Senator Harris. Senator Gabbard had the bill for CBD use in the military. So I try to stay on top of what I can as far as like what bills are currently here, like MORE Act, obviously for with Senator Harris's bill. Um, but I don't know as far as who stands where and who's oh well this person's too conservative, so they're not going to go for legalized cannabis. Like I couldn't tell you a good majority of that stuff because like I think that's one thing we kind of don't really plan to get into too much unless it's specifically related to like the MORE Act, for example. When we find out the MORE Act, they put it aside for now until after the election. Things like that definitely we can talk about. But
The
yeah, so that's my
unfortunate
flaw
part,
for sure.
the unfortunate part of the politics of cannabis is it's always draped into a bill with a bunch of bullshit, just like
Right.
everything
Yeah.
else is. I'm not pointing out cannabis and saying they're the only ones that get draped into a bunch of bullshit. I mean, look how they duped us with the Patriot Act 1 and 2, right? So
Hmm.
they can hide anything into a pile of crap. And right now the partisan battle is the largest I've ever seen it, which is causing cannabis to fall into the cracks between it.
Right.
There is the only people who stood definitively on cannabis reform and drug reform and the end to the war on drugs, all of that, unfortunately no longer exist in the presidential campaign race. Um, and that's not taking away the fact that either of these candidates may be for it or against it. We don't know, because it's a touchy subject for them to lean on, and it's obviously not the forefront of a presidential campaign right now. You know what I
Right.
mean? It is for us, but not for the country, of course.
Right.
So I think it's all going to work itself out. I've talked to a lot of prominent people in the cannabis industry around the legal aspect of it as well as the industry in itself, and it is pretty positive that the U.S. government will decriminalize cannabis, and get the MORE Act through, hopefully by the end of this year, if not early part of next year. So there is a lot of positive belief that it's all going to go through. I mean, from what I understand, the purchase, the canopy growth purchase of Aurora, here in the United States last year for billions of dollars, all still solely hinges on the legalization of, or the decriminalization of cannabis in the United States federally.
Interesting.
So there is a lot on the table right now that I don't believe would be on the table if inside people weren't already kind of expressing what's going down.
Right.
It's inevitable. I mean, the money's there, it's inevitable. If you look at the MORE Act, the government will get, I believe, some between 1 and 5% tax on federally on all of cannabis sales. Think about what Colorado and Washington and California are producing for tax money right now with recreational and medical, which is basically what it would look like in America if it federally decriminalizes.
Right.
So think about the financial boost that would do just to the federal government alone, you know.
Right.
It would fund Space Force, right? But seriously,
Yeah.
so that's the politics of all of it, really, you know. And I mean, it all comes down to capitalism. They don't give a shit if it's medical and it works. They don't care. They don't. The bottom line is how much are we going to make?
Mm-hmm.
You know, every major corporation in America right now, all the big dogs that have been around for a while, Fortune 500s, are all aligning. Let me rephrase that. All the Fortune 500 retailers, the Coca-Colas, the Budweisers, the Marlboro, right? All of these companies are aligning with cannabis companies right now. You don't know about it because they're all standing behind the decriminalization, waiting for that to go down,
Right.
because then it's no longer a stigma. It's legal. At that point, it's no longer a federal crime. Nobody will bother you. Nobody will come to you with those nice blue vinyl jackets and take everything out of your building anymore
Mm-hmm.
because they can't. And then it opens the doors for the state level. The state level now can sell recreational, medical, it can sell edibles, it can open consumption lounges. There's so many options to tax. And as that goes up the tree, that 1 to 5% the federal government gets just expands.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a win-win for everybody, you know?
Yeah, and then it can go to funding a lot of shit better. And I know a lot of people, they're gonna have an issue with the fact that cannabis sales can fund your children's education, but there's a good chance that that might be part of it in the future. Some of that tax is going to go to the much needed overhaul of our education system at the moment.
Sure.
And being able to either take it state sales or federal sales, depending on how what route they take with it. That's important. But again, you're going to have a lot of, depending on where you're at, there's going to be the conservative fight for that, but
They
there's not
can't
really.
argue against the research anymore.
Right, yeah.
And basically things like the Charlotte Web, the medicinal aspect that is helping children, cancer patients. It's, the the old school era,
Mm-hmm.
Jeff Sessions mentality is just the minority now, not the majority. This is not 1963,
Right. The only people
So
left with this view of it were taught the view and taught to have that view.
yeah,
So.
it's not it's a learned behavior,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
um they'd rather stay ignorant because somebody at Sunday school when I was 12 told me that it was bad, and mommy told me it was bad, and instead of thinking outside the box on their own. And now the science of it is slapping them all in the face and proving that it doesn't kill brain cells. It doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
um I know so many people who function on it daily, all day, at a high level, at a
Mm-hmm.
high level, CEO level, you know um and what it does for the body is the research is still expanding.
All right, Mike. Well, I think we've pretty much covered everything today. Um, I'm looking forward to the next show already.
Me
We'll
too.
be getting together in a couple days and have some more content for you guys, and we will definitely see you then. So have a good night, and Mike, I'll see you in a few days.
Yes,
Stay
sir.
safe up there with that hurricane coming.
We will. Looks like we're going to be all right. I think it's going to miss us, so we'll get another one under our belts this week.
All right, brother. I'll see you in a couple days.
Be good.
All right, bye.